So here we go. Let's go ahead and start with the offense first, as a whole. So far this year, Ohio State has 1,557 passing yards, 1,049 rushing yards through 6 games for a total of 2,606 yards and a 7.8 yards per play average. They have 143 first downs. They are 28 of 61 on third downs, but 8 of 10 on fourth downs. They have possessed the ball an average of 30 minutes and 38 seconds per game, and they have a total of 5 turnovers. I'll start with you first, Cory. Your letter grade for the offense.
I give it an A minus. I'm closer to an A, but I'll go A minus because everything needs to improvement. Obviously, I mean everything can be improved. Be interesting to see going forward without Jimmy Simmons how the offense looks a little bit different with Zen Mikowski taking the reins there. But again, I agree with you guys. He did okay against Oregon. I don't know if he'll be that big of a problem or not, but he still isn't Jimmy Simmons. The area I'd like to see improved upon is a receiving game within tight ends. Would be nice if they were getting. I see G Scott slowly getting a little bit more involved, but I'd like to see it continue just to add another weapon on the field because I know Jeremiah and Mecca are awesome, obviously, but you like to add that little bit of a middle route crossing patterns, those little seam routes to the tight ends. I do it are a big help. You can also build a screen game off of it and things like that because of their blocking. Um, it so it I actually I wonder if Matt LeBlanc getting his black stripe off all of a sudden has something to do with Willie K breaking his arm or whatever it was being out for a while. Uh, Will Howard's been to me even better than advertised, better than expected, and especially when his best game as a Buckeye was against our Oregon. I mean, he showed up when it mattered the most. Running game has been as advertised. Chip Kelly's been excellent. I don't really have a lot of problems with the offense, so I'll go A minus.
Yeah, I was torn between an A minus and a B plus. I think I'm going to go the A minus though as well. Uh, to me, the turnovers a little bit concerning on the turnovers. Also, for me, you mentioned it a little bit, Corey. What I wanted to talk about was kind of the lack of receiving by our running backs. We got a couple running backs with very good hands, and I really think we need to use that because let's face it, we, excuse me, we got a quarterback who can get the ball downfield, but not with a great degree of accuracy consistently. So it's great to have that to be able to stretch the field and show it from time to time. But his strength is from 20 yards in, where I think he's extremely accurate. And we need to take advantage of our tight ends and our running backs in that passing game a little bit more. And I just don't feel that those two groups are getting enough touches. Um, when you look at it, we don't have a tight end or running back with more than 7 catches on the season. I think that we can do better there. But overall, I don't feel that the offense has been bad. They're one of the top, I think, 6 offenses in the country right now in overall offense. So I'm going to go A minus.
I'm going to go with an A in chat. Let me know what your letter grade is for the offense in the chat as well. I'm going with an A. The offensive line performed better in the first 6 games than I anticipated them. That to me is huge. I did I After the last couple years, I was doubting the offensive line, and I think a lot of that has to do with Chip Kelly and his scheme. Absolutely. I think that Will Howard has looked better than I anticipated. In all honesty, that has been kind of put my mind at ease. Um, and that's kind of the thing going into the season where two of my biggest concerns was the offensive line and how would Will Howard look, and so far so good. Hard to not give an A when you have the wide receivers that we have. Now I would like to see a third one emerge as a real true weapon, but so far so good there. And yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I would like to see the running backs be used more in the passing game, but I'm not so sure that's their fault here so far early on this season. And they have done a tremendous job toting the rock for the most part. So all those things considered, I'm going to go with an A for the offense. Now, The defense is going to be a little bit of a different story here, but the numbers look good
Yeah,
because the first 5 games were dominant, and then the majority of the stats that are kind of like that happened against Oregon really affected how those the total of those first five games. So let's go over them real fast, and then I'll get your takes here. So defensively, we've given up 880 passing yards, only 402 rushing yards for only a total of 1,282 yards this season and an average of 4.3 yards per play. They've given up 76 first downs, which is under half of what we've gotten on offense. Third down efficiency, 22 of 72. Fourth down, we've gotten off the field 50% of the time, 4 of 8. Time of possession, only 29 minutes and 22 seconds, and they have caused 9 turnovers this season. So this will be very interesting because will we have some recency biased in this, or are we going to look at the totality on the midterm progress report here? Cory, you're up first.
The totality is an interesting concept with this defense because through the years with Jim Knowles now, what we've seen is a team that will dominate inferior opponents. I mean, the defense looks just like the 85 Bears against terrible teams. Then you get up against maybe not even quite equal competition. Competition's a tier lower, and all of a sudden defense falls apart. Um, I I don't know what the answer to that is, but for me, that's where I take the totality of it. It's like I don't really care anymore what you do against the Akrons of the world. I just don't. I used to look at it as okay, wow, this is like showing signs of a good deep. Don't care anymore. You get against Oregon, which was your first really good offensive team, and you fall apart. I'm giving them a C at best. And that's consideration of what has gone on in the first 5 games. Say, okay, you did your job at least. But when it came to Oregon, when we really needed it, you you fell apart, and so you went from possibly an A for the way you were playing the season to an F to Oregon. I'm averaging it out to a C because I think they're in different compartments, and I'm not happy with the lack of pass rush. Obviously, the lack of I don't know what the issue is between Larry and Jim, but they have no creativity whatsoever in trying to get to the quarterback. They're just rushing for. I don't like the idea that we're so bland and basic and stubborn in our base. I don't like that we don't really try to fix issues in game. Then you have players like Denzel Burke falling apart and having, one of the worst games he's ever had as a Buckeye unexpectedly against a team we really did not need that to happen. So, yeah, I'm going C, and that's the best I can. That's being kind, in my opinion, after Oregon.
yeah, I agree with you, Corey. I actually went C minus. Yeah, I mean, you can look at the totality of it, but let's face it, the first 5 games, the competition totally sucked. You know, they were playing nobody. You play a team with a pulse, and you get your butt kicked. You're right about the lack of pass rush. There's no creativity. You're completely trying to bull rush everybody. There's no stunts. These guys don't have a second move to go to. There's no swim move. There's nothing. And it's just it's ridiculous because then you're leaving your, like you said, defensive backs out there on an island. And as we found out, our defensive backs, given the scheme that Jim Knowles is running, cannot be out there on an island by themselves. They just can't. Denzel, crapped himself for lack of a better term. Uh, you know, I didn't think Iggy played terrible, but he did not have a great game either. Um, yeah, you cannot, you can't give this team anything better. You can't. They've got to go out and show that they can do it. Um, I'm very concerned about this defense. I'm very concerned about this defense when we play Penn State. I'm very concerned about this defense when we play Indiana. So, I mean, if we don't get to the Hoosiers quarterback, that guy's going to slice and dice us.
If he's playing, he's hurt.
He is, but I mean, you're talking what, 3 weeks out?
I'm not so sure that it's the quarterback. The backup came in and looked just as good.
Yeah.
Like I think
Well,
schematically, and
system.
we'll get there when we get there. I think Signetti is a really good coach. Like I totally underestimated him. I totally
Yeah,
underestimated
I
him.
think we both did.
I've Googled him a few times since then, as he would like to say.
If I'm an Indiana fan right now, I'm thinking, oh, geez, we're going to lose this guy, aren't we? He's going to end up at Oklahoma when Venables is
Oh yeah,
fired.
he's on
Oh,
a hot seat, and it's not because he's doing bad; it's because he's doing so good.
yeah, he
Exactly.
won't be in Indiana next year. I truly believe next year he'll be gone.
He's saying all the right things that he and his family and his wife love it there.
They always say that, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
got you. Yeah, and I give props to the Indiana student section for coming up with the whole SIGs concept,
Hmm.
cigarette SIGs concept. Guys, that's pretty that's brilliant. All right, chat again. Let me know your defensive letter grade for the season. Colton says C. I said this going into the Oregon game, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but our defense, for lack of a better term, plays so defensively. They don't. And what I mean by that is a lack of aggression.
Hmm.
It's almost like if I'm an offensive coordinator, I know what they're going to be in and what they're going to do the whole time.
Yeah.
There's no where would the exotic blitz come from? Are where's who's dropping in coverage and who's coming on the blitz and how many are they going to bring at the quarter? Like it's so simple right now for the offensive line and for the offense that it's literally like you have a small pond and they got a shotgun. Like it's like shooting fish out of a barrel right now. And I know that there's a lot of talk about you brought it up, Cory, LJ and Jim Knowles not being on the same page on some things. And I know that there are some rumors floating out there right now that there was a big defensive meeting in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center this week. Well, gosh darn it, there better have been after that
Hmm.
performance. If there wasn't, I'm questioning what in the world Ryan Day's doing as the quote unquote CEO.
Hmm.
Because guys, that was bad. That being said, I'm looking at this as the totality. I am going to be a little bit more of a better grader than you guys right now because we were the best defense going into that game in the country.
I mean, in total defense, they're still ranked number 2 in the country,
And
which is amazing to me.
I still think, and maybe this is a little bit of me, kind of drinking the Kool-Aid that Cory and Lisa were hooking up to my IV as they did their Ryan Day video over the weekend. I think they can. I believe in this coaching staff still. I believe in it. I know you don't, Chris. I do.
Now, let me clarify. I don't disbelieve in all the coaching staff. I have no faith in Ryan Day. I have no faith in Jim Knowles, and Larry Johnson is a thorn in everybody's side. Other than that, I don't have a problem with the coaching staff. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that because I still think that Fry's an idiot on the offensive line, and that the only reason the offensive line looks as good as it does is because of Chip Kelly. But
Yeah, Ryan Day's beard's right. I did see that. Ryan Day came out and said the game was not a wake up call. But to his defense,
don't you do it.
no, hold on. To his defense, if it takes an L to wake you up, then you weren't awake to begin with.
They weren't awake. Did you see them play?
That's not all on Ryan Day.
This team lacks any motivation when they take the field, specifically defensively. You've said it yourself, Eric. They look passive.
Defensively, they did.
And that's where the big
Defensively,
problem
they did.
is. I
They did.
agree.
But if, and I know there's a lot of ifs here, but if Denzel Burke stops one of those passes, it's a completely different game.
And if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its butt when it hopped.
All right, let's go with. I've never heard that one before.